Let's look together this morning in Genesis chapter 40. When I went home and was looking at Scripture, I was excited when God revealed to me that I was to carry on with the life of Joseph. I'm praying that He will let me continue to do that for the next couple of weeks. But in chapter 39, we see where Joseph was sold by his brothers to the Ishmaelites, and the Ishmaelites put Joseph in a bid, and Potiphar bid on him. And he was sold to Potiphar, and he went and he took over Potiphar's house. And we see time and time again where Scripture says, and the Lord was with Joseph. And we see that. And so Potiphar's wife looks at him and desires him and falsely accuses him. And so he ends up in prison. And that's where we're going to look at today. Genesis chapter 40. Now, when I was younger, I spent a lot of time in the hospital. I had juvenile epilepsy, and back then they really didn't know what it was. They didn't know what caused it. And so I was rushed to emergency rooms, and I spent a lot of times in ambulances, and I would have seizures at what I always called the most inopportune time. I don't know if there was ever an opportune time to have a grand mal seizure, but these seemed to come at the bad times. And so when I got older, I kind of made a little bit of a vow. You know, it's one of these things that you make a vow, but you aren't able to stick to it. And I said, God, I have to be honest that when the Lord first started working in my life, I told him that there was one thing that I really didn't want to have much to do with. I really didn't want to have anything to do with hospitals. So I said, God, whatever you do, I just don't want to have anything to do with hospitals. Now, that's one of those things when God kind of looks and laughs at you. And so when the Lord called me into the ministry, I knew that I was going to have to deal with hospitals. But also, He allowed me to marry someone who works for a hospital. And so I got over my dislike for